What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Skull Network. My name is Nick, and wow, what another nail biter. I mean, who saw this coming? Two teams that, frankly, bring almost every game down to the wire, ended within 7 points, but luckily, it came in our favor this time. 27-20, Vikings take the win on the road against a pretty damn good Chargers team, and there's a good bit to talk about here. Some goods and still some bads, so let's not waste any more time. I'm just going to get right into this. Now, getting right into the good, I'll go with my three players of the game. Eric Kendricks, amazing interception, just overall great play as he always has, was back at home in the California area. Cameron Bynum was the second, getting his first career sack, and honestly just playing very well the last 2 or 3 weeks, really showing that he could be a very important piece on this defense for years to come. And then, of course, the man of the hour, Justin Jefferson. Like, what really can you say? The guy just continues to ball out, and I'm going to make a statement right now, and I say this with 100% confidence. Justin Jefferson is the best sideline catcher in the entire NFL. Just the footwork and the body control that he has on the sidelines, even when throws aren't necessarily perfect, it's just absolutely incredible from a guy that's so young, and we are incredibly lucky to have him. Honorable mention obviously goes to Tyler Conklin, 2 touchdowns on 2 receptions today. Very important piece to this game, but I mean, yeah, what can you say? Continuing with the positives, there were actually some coaching positives that came out of this game. I know that's not generally something that we think of as normal around here, but let's face it, the play calling from Clint Kubiak this week was, I'm not going to say great, but it was certainly much better than in weeks past. There's a lot more aggression, and he really played to Kirk Cousins' skill set because Kirk is one of the best quarterbacks in the league on plays that involve play action, and he played into that quite a bit today. Now, were there some issues with players like Joey Bosa and others kind of blowing up those plays relatively quickly? Yeah, you could say so. There was a little bit of offensive line kind of inconsistencies compared to last week, but I mean, regardless, there was still some success on those. And then, of course, there was the ability to actually close out a game. 4th and 2, and generally we would probably kick it and have Greg Joseph miss it. But instead, Clint Kubiak said, nope, we are not doing that. We're not punting. We're not giving him the ball back. We're going to pick up this first down, unlikely as it was, and we're going to finish off this game, and that's exactly what he did. But just because there was some good today does not excuse some of the still weird and very questionable calls that Clint Kubiak likes to throw at us once in a while. We can't forget late in the game, 2nd and 17, decides to call a draw play. Now, yes, Dalvin picked up 11 yards on that, but that was incredibly lucky that Dalvin stayed on his feet. So that is one of those instances where it's like, come on, what are you doing? Earlier in the game than that, there was a quick slant on 3rd and 8 that went to Adam Thielen that went for about 4 yards and caused us to have to punt. It's just situations like those that still happen. They weren't as common today, but they certainly did happen from time to time, and it really just does make you wonder. So I think that Clint is safe for another week. I just think the leash got a little bit longer, and I think the same goes for Mike Zimmer. And I know a lot of people probably don't like that, but I mean, he didn't have any poor time management skills this week, at least not that I could remember. And we can't forget that this defense was ranked 28th in total yards allowed per game and went in and only gave up 253 yards to a top 10 offense. Held Justin Herbert to under 200 yards, and held Austin Eckler, a major dual threat running back, to under 60 total yards. So it's obvious that things are somewhat going in the right direction, at least for this week. But again, we cannot forget the issues surrounding the end of the first half. I mean, yeah, of course, a lot of the downfield movement on that drive by the Chargers was through penalties, but we'll get to the penalties in a minute. It's just that inability of not being able to protect your own end zone towards the end of the first half that really is still very bothersome, and is the reason that a lot of teams are still in games against us. Because honestly, if we eliminated that, we'd be in a much better position. And now we own first place for most points given up in the last 2 minutes of the first half. We're now in front of the Giants. I mean, come on. And as I said a second ago, the last thing that I'm going to touch about, at least the last major thing, is those penalties. We had 7 in the second quarter and 2 more on Oli Udoh. When is Mike Zimmer going to figure out that this guy is a penalty machine and get him out of there and get Wyatt Davis or even Blake Brandel in there? It's a glaring issue, and the more that it is ignored, the more I'm going to be talking about it, and just the more I'm going to be pissed, and no one wants that. Regardless, though, the number of penalties and the penalty yards from week to week just never seems to go down, and there's no discipline. And you'd think it'd be something that is a glaring issue that is addressed each week in practice and slightly improved upon from week to week, but absolutely not. So I don't know what to say about that. There's honestly nothing that can really be done if you keep the same players in. So I don't know. It's up to you, Mike Zimmer. But I mean, aside from that, you can't really hate a lot of what you saw. Kirk Cousins played a relatively safe game. That fumble, obviously, in the first quarter was very awkward and very hard to watch. But aside from that, took 1 sack, but really did push the ball down the field quite a bit and really played a very safe game. Dalvin Cook nearly 100 yards. A couple instances where you're like, I don't think we should have ran there. But again, it was a much lower number of those like run plays where you're like, why are we doing this now? And honestly, I think it benefited Dalvin Cook a lot. But that's going to wrap up all my thoughts here. There's a lot of good, but still some very odd / bad / weird. But this was a great win. This gets us well back into the wild card picture. We should be a game behind now if my math is correct. So there's plenty of season left, and there's plenty of games left that are clearly winnable if we can win a game against Los Angeles at their place. And who knows, Green Bay might be without Aaron Jones next week, so we'll have to see how that plays. And who knows, we'll have to see. Let's see if we can turn this into a win streak. But other than that, that's all I got. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the button down below to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like as well. If you want to share this video with anyone, you can do that with anyone on any platform. And if it's a crack dealer on the corner, that's your guys' best option. You guys already know. My name's Nick, and I will see you guys all in Week 11 picks coming out on Wednesday. Adios.